Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm outdoor here, and the wind is blowing. It's a breezy day. All right, so I want to quickly talk about the story of someone I heard about who was almost rejected because of the letter of recommendation that was sent on his behalf. Now, this is a story I was just privy to, so I won't mention the details. Of course, the way normal Nigerian style, the professors asked him to give them a draft for letter of recommendation. Okay, so he gave that draft, and then, of course, the school is submitted it to when they were making the admission decision and the like. This guy has a very fantastic profile. He has a very fantastic profile, but the letter of recommendation, the three or so that was submitted for him, were the same. Okay, so you of course you can imagine having the same letter of recommendation from three different professors, and then they began to suspect that probably something is wrong, maybe engaged in fraud or something, or maybe um, faked those letter of recommendation. Maybe those things. The admission committee will begin to think such things when such happens, and then thank God there was a Nigerian in that same department. What I mean, they had to ask, okay, what's the situation like, and he explained what the situation like is like in the country, like where students are asked to submit the drafts, and then some of those professors they don't take care of it. They don't what do you call it now? They don't edit it well enough, or don't read it, don't go through it, and they just submit it same way the student gave it to them. Okay, of course, thank God the guy was able to get such person who was able to explain to the admission committee on his behalf. Of course, he may not know this eventually, or probably if he meets the guy anywhere on campus, he may know. But this is it. Many students would have been denied admission and funding based on this purpose, based on this reason. Okay, and then it will affect a lot more if we don't tackle this, because the way things work in Nigeria, for example, with many of our professors, many of our lecturers, they ask you to submit a draft. Okay, and it is this draft that they actually work with, and then to be able to write something for you. So what should you do? What I would say, as I usually say, is for every professor you want to submit a draft to, don't submit the same draft to them. Okay, write it based on the peculiarity of your relationship with the professor or with the lecturer. The same thing happened to me during my time. I was asked to submit different drafts by different professors, and one of the things I did was to write it based on our relationship, peculiarity of our relationship. In fact, one of my professors then, who had a student in one of the schools where I teach, in the school where I teach rather, I made those peculiarities there to make sure that yes, we have such relationship too, and then the professor can attest to my teaching abilities, because of not only because of course he has seen me teach as even as a student, because I was a TA even while doing my masters. Okay, so you want to make these peculiarities known, the relationship between you and each of the professors. Don't just write one blanket statement and then send it to all of your what do you call it now, all those who are writing recommendation letters for you. Don't just send them the same thing. Write it, send it based on the peculiarity of your relationship. For example, one of my professors who was the HOD while I was a TA, I wrote there that it was a HOD at that time. It was, and of course, it monitors those of us who are TAs to ensure that we do our duties. So I wrote it there that, of course, he supervised me, he made sure I did my own duty, this and that. He could attest to my teaching ability and the fact that I'm responsible. Okay, I wrote these things there. And that professor was my advisor. I wrote it differently. Things we've done together, the work we've done together, those students I've been able to mingle with based on what she has asked me to do, and all those things. Other professors who were just my lecturers, who just taught me, we didn't really have that kind of professional, yeah, let me call it professional relationship. I wrote our relationship, what the course they taught, how well I did in their course. I had an A in this course, this, that. They have watched me over the years, done this. No, those are the things you should do. Write it based on the peculiarity of your relationship with each of them. Okay, so you don't want to fall into that situation where the admission committee will say, oh, the same recommendation letter was submitted uh, for for the student, and then they begin to think a fraud has taken place. Maybe the student forged the letters, forged their signatures and the likes. Okay, so you don't want to fall into this trap. It's just an update on what's going on in this world, because sometimes people ask, why was I rejected? They don't know why they are actually rejected. Some of the reasons why people are rejected is because of recommendation letter. Some people, they are all their what other documents are superb, fantastic, but the recommendation letter is just a no, no, no. Okay, and many times this comes because students are asked to write the draft, and then when they draft it, the professor does not edit it and the likes, or even a professor may not know how to write it. So I think if you check some of the videos here, you will find some of the drafts I made about on recommendation letters, the one I actually used for my own. I read like two or three. I read them out so you can get a clue from it. All right, thank you for joining in today. It's just a quick update, an impromptu update. I do this from time to time. All right, thank you so much. God bless you. Real good.